It's Positively Muskegon. Andy O'Reilly today at the Lake Harbor United Methodist Church. I got it right. It took me a couple of takes because the last time I did a story, I was down at the Central, where Kids Food Basket is and all that. I get my churches confused. Sorry. This is Jeff Steele. Jeff is you're the founder of this Kids Belong thing.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about Kids Belong.
Sure.
What's the overall mission?
Okay, well, here's the big idea, where it came from. So I'm a pastor, and my wife and I got involved in foster care about 6 years ago.
Yep.
And so I noticed a thing as a pastor. Here's what happens. You get letters from agencies who would like you to help kind of support their cause.
Right.
And churches get a lot of those letters.
Mm-hmm. And churches are also going, hey, what about our cause?
Pastors get a lot of those letters. And so, like, trying to pick and choose, okay, we're going to support this, we're not going to support this, like, that's a really difficult thing to do.
It's tough.
It is. And so I just started thinking, well, what if, as a pastor, I could talk to other pastors, and maybe we could try to do something that's more church-led as opposed to being more reactive. Okay. So instead of agencies coming and saying, hey, will you support our thing that we're planning?
Let's start our own thing.
Let's do our own thing and say, hey, okay, now the church is planning this thing, and then we can go to the agencies and say, hey, why don't you come and be a part of it?
Sure.
So that was really the big idea behind it.
Good way to get things going.
It has it's developed and grown over the years into other things as well. So the primary thing was this event that's coming up in a couple of weeks. That was a way to say, hey, these are churches getting together. We're going to talk about foster care. We're going to talk about adoption. And if you want to know more about what that is, what that looks like, then come hear about it.
Right. You got into this how? You fostered and have adopted yourself?
Yes. Okay. We have, my wife and I have 3 biological children now, and we have 3 adopted children.
Okay.
We fostered, so over the course of 5 years, I believe we had 30 foster care placements.
Wow.
And 3 of those, stayed.
Sure.
Are still with us.
Sure.
So real exposure to a wide range of things.
Yep.
Wide range of needs.
Yep.
Coming in and out of the house.
Is it difficult when these foster kids will come in and they may need because I know some people that have fostered.
Yep.
And I know some people that no situation is ever the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, there's no cookie cutter format to fostering and adopting and things like that.
Right.
Is it difficult when these kids, their foster time is up and you have to?
Yeah.
I mean, is it
very? I mean, that's what everybody says. Like, oh, I would get too attached. I could never do that. And like, I get that. I understand that. That concept, but at the same time, you're supposed to get attached.
Yeah. And you're teaching
them.
They
need that.
Yeah.
They actually need that attachment because they might not have it.
Right.
They might not have ever had it. And coming into a more, hopefully a healthier kind of environment, they might get exposed to that for the first time. So you really have to provide that. 30 kids, 30 different placements, those ranged anywhere from 12 hours to 18 months.
Really?
So you don't know coming in, and a pretty sure sign that it'll last for a long time is when they say, oh, this will just be real quick.
Yeah.
This will just be a couple of days.
Famous last words of anything.
Pretty much a guarantee that's going to be the next year. And then, sometimes the opposite is true, and they say, oh, this is a really long-term looking thing, and so you kind of set your mind to that, and then 2 weeks later, oh, wait, there's a relative who just popped up we didn't know about, and we're going to move the kids over there. So it's you don't know.
How are the kids?
They're great. The kids are doing great. So I had 2 kids when we started, my biological kids, and then we got into the whole adventure of the thing, and we've adopted 3 of them.
Yep.
One was 6 when we adopted him. The other 2 were both very young when they were placed with us. They were 10 weeks and 7 weeks.
Okay.
So they've grown up with us.
Right.
And then along the way, we had another baby. So after we've already fostered all these kids and we've adopted 3 kids, then all of a sudden we had another baby about 18 months ago.
Can't question you can't question the work from the guy upstairs. You just kind of play along and do what he says.
It's all good.
Right?
It's all good. I'm happy for the adopted kids to have had that experience of bringing her home from the hospital.
Yep.
So like all my kids at the hospital and bringing her home is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty special thing that I think they have, and being the big brothers is a pretty cool thing for them.
Absolutely. Your birth children.
Yes.
Has it been difficult for them to see kids come and go? And...
Yeah. They'll attach differly to different kids depending on how well they get along.
Absolutely,
and all
like
of
anybody
that
else.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So they have all had, they've all had cases that they were extremely heartbroken when the kids left. Yeah. They've also had cases they were pretty okay when the kids left.
They're kids,
That's a relief.
Yeah.
They've grown up very differently, I think. Mm-hmm. I've told the story many times about my daughter. She was 2 years old when we started.
Okay.
So pretty formative years for her, and we've got kids coming and going all the time. And so the day that she was playing with her baby dolls as a 2-year-old, and she had them all lined up on the couch, and she had her blankets, and she was tucking them in. And as I listened to her play, realized she was getting them all ready for visits from their caseworkers.
Really? Wow.
All of her baby dolls and their caseworkers were coming, and so she was getting them ready for visits. And I thought, first of all, man, I've really screwed up my kids because that's her expectation.
Sure.
But at the same time, like that's her frame of reference.
Yeah.
Every baby that had come into our house at that point had a caseworker.
Sure. So that's what you knew.
It was normal.
It was normal. Yeah, perfect. You guys do more than I mean. You host this seminar coming up, which we're going to talk about, but you've also got some things around town.
Yes.
Like here at the church here, they've got a teen clothes outreach.
Right.
I know out on Apple they've got one for little kids and things like that. Some of the other things that you guys have.
Yeah. So the whole ministry has grown
Yep.
from where it began, and so we have the closets.
Yep.
That you mentioned, which are real just practical support pieces for foster parents, because when you get placements, kids, they might come with stuff, they might not. We've had kids placed with us that they came with clothes, and you just put them in a bag and put them on the porch. You don't want to open that bag.
No kidding.
The kids, you just
come out of a bad situation.
You don't want to know necessarily what's in there sometimes. And so there are great ministries that help with some of those things. Foster parents do get some help from the state in terms of clothing allowance and things. It takes a little time.
Why wouldn't it? It's the government we're talking about,
and all of that stuff. And so, as a foster parent, you tend to put a lot of money out of pocket just to get kids set up.
Sure.
And they come in. You don't want them in grubby clothes and whatever. So the closets are super practical. You make an appointment or you come during open hours, and you come and you just take what you need.
Cool.
As a foster parent. It's all free. It's all available to you. And so at Lake Harbor, we kind of transitioned that closet into the teen area.
Okay.
And so that's specifically for teenagers stuff. And then at the fellowship location, we really do more all ages, a lot of baby stuff, and then that's also where we host our school supplies.
Sure.
So every summer we do an open house over there, and we do fun activities for kids. Foster families come from all over the region.
Sure.
And they get free school supplies, backpacks for everybody in the family.
Great way to do it.
Kids get to play. We have dinner, and it's a great event. We also do support groups.
Okay.
For foster parents.
I can imagine those are necessary.
Those are necessary. So we have a lot of online support groups through some kind of closed channel Facebook stuff that we're very pretty particular about and very careful about. And then also, in-person support groups for foster parents. So it's kind of grown into a hub of foster and adoptive parents in the area, which is fantastic because there are several different child placement agencies in Muskegon County.
Yep.
And they all work together very well. Like a lot of counties in Michigan don't have what we have in Muskegon.
Good.
The agencies, they play nice, they support each other, they cooperate very, very well. So that's a fantastic thing. So that's good. But since there are so many of them, it's helpful to have kind of one central hub that does the support group stuff and the closet stuff, and that's kind of the niche that Kids Belong is able to fill. Is
there an ideal candidate for a family that wants to be a foster family or adoptive?
Not really. In terms of like demographic or income
what I'm
or
getting
house
at is
or
that
anything.
anybody
There's
can
not,
do this if they feel inspired.
Yeah, it's not. People have said, well, I had somebody say to us once, because 2 of my children are African American.
Okay.
So we kind of stick out when we go places. People know that we've either adopted or foster family, and that's fine. So that kind of brings up the conversations. And I had somebody say to us once, well, I really wish that I had a big house so I could do that.
Right.
And I think, if you knew most of the houses that are taking in foster kids, it's not people with empty houses and empty bedrooms.
Right.
It's people with 3, 4, 5 kids already who are saying, yeah, I can fit one more.
This is something I can do to
more.
pay back, and pay
absolutely.
forward.
Like the amount of square footage it takes is not that much.
Right.
And, it's a lot of families, you get creative with space. And that's what you do, because you can make room for one more.
Yep.
It's not, there are people who are empty nesters who get involved in foster care. There are young families like mine that get involved in foster care, and everything in between. There are singles who get involved and take foster kids. There are some single guys who will take teenage boys. Man, I can't even tell you what a big need that is.
That's a tough age too.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And those are the guys who have so much to invest in teen boys.
Yep.
There's, honestly, there's security things when you have kids in the house already, and that you have to be careful of.
Sure.
And so that is not a placement that I've ever taken.
Not yet.
One night, it was an emergency thing, and we said, okay, you got one night.
Yeah.
and that's fine. We can do it. We always figure we can do anything for one night.
Sure.
So that happens.
On to the event. Let's talk about this thing coming up in Norton Pines.
Yeah, the event is basically get to know what it looks like.
Yep.
Meet some foster families, meet some adoptive families, hear their stories, hear a little bit about their journey, get to know what it looks like here in our community. It's not a national campaign thing with some headquarters somewhere else in the world. This is us. This is West Michigan.
Yep.
It's Northern Ottawa County. It's Muskegon County, and these are our families.
Yeah.
And so get to know their stories. First of all, understand a little bit about where they're coming from and what their life looks like.
Okay.
Ask some questions. But then second of all, I always want to emphasize this with people. Even if you're thinking, I don't think I could do that. There's no way. I'm not going to adopt or foster. Get to know what their life looks like so you can support them.
Yep.
As a part of your community. The kids are in your schools. They're your kids' friends on the playground or in your church. Get to know what their life looks like.
Sure.
If you want to be able to support them helpfully.
Yep.
And so it's really just an informational learning kind of event. We're doing it in the evening this year, and we're providing dinner.
Perfect.
Which is always good.
Yep.
And then at Norton Pines, and then they have the inflatables available for kids.
Fun.
So basically, everybody's going to eat together for about a half hour, and then if kids want to go play, we'll have some people who can take kids to go play, and then the grown-ups can talk, and we can have some real discussion about what this is, hear our stories, ask some questions, find out what this looks like.
How great is the need?
The need is huge.
Yeah.
The need is absolutely huge. So Muskegon County and Ottawa County combined, over 600 kids in foster care.
No kidding.
And it's really significant.
Yeah.
The majority of that is Muskegon County, even though Muskegon is smaller.
Yeah.
And the amount of homes that it takes, ideally you'd like to find the perfect family for each kid. You would love to be able to take this kid in and say, okay, now who's going to be a good fit for this kid?
Yep.
Unfortunately, the way that it mostly works is, hey, where is there an open bed that we can find that will take this kid?
Yep. For now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And temporary, ends up becoming long term. It's just there's a real necessity that drives that.
Yep.
The amount of open homes are in short supply. I'll give you an example. Why I mentioned we have an 18-month-old.
Yep.
So that year, there's a cap on how many kids you're allowed to have in your home.
Okay.
Basically, 6 is the limit, but the agency can make an exceptions up to 8.
Okay.
Okay. After 8 kids in your home, you have to get permission from Lansing. They have to do all kinds of paperwork. They send it off to the state. The state can give you an exception per case basis to go over 8 kids. So, as I mentioned, my wife was pregnant that summer. We had 8 kids already in the home. We had our 5 at the time, and then we had 3 foster kids.
Yep.
We're about 2 weeks away from giving birth, and we got a call from
got room for another one?
the agency saying, hey, how many cribs do you have in your house? Wow. And I was thinking that they were asking, like, could we loan a crib to somebody?
Right.
And it slowly dawned on me, you're asking me to take a placement, aren't you? And they're like, yes, we really need you. Okay, so my wife is about to give birth in 2 weeks. We have 8 kids already, and you're asking me to take another one. And they said, yes, that's exactly what we're asking.
You figured that one out, Jeff.
so and I know, I mean, we have a relationship with them, and I know that they are desperate at that point.
Yep.
Like, this day, right now, there is nowhere else to put this child.
Right.
So, okay, so we took one more.
Yep.
And, so we did end up with 10 in our home at one point.
That's like my mom's family growing up, It ain't those days anymore.
That used to be a common thing. It's
absolutely.
It's not so much anymore. So people now are like, oh my goodness, you have 6 kids. That's crazy. I'm like, dude, we used to have 10. Like, 6 is great. We can do anything we want with 6 kids. We feel so free. It's amazing. So there are homes like that, and our home, and we've managed to carve out a lot of bedroom space. We have a big vehicle already, so we have that kind of space available, at least short term. So there should not be a time when a family in the position that we were in is being asked to take more kids.
Right. So you need more people involved, right?
If there were enough homes that there was a place to spread kids around, and there were places that siblings could stay together, because a lot of times siblings will get separated now,
and that's tough,
and that's really hard on the kids. There's not, and our home was one that could take siblings, and that's partly how we ended up getting so full.
Sure.
So that's not great for anybody when you're trying to pack that many kids into one place.
Community-wise, that's what it takes, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to be willing to go the extra mile while you're involved in it, or thinking about getting involved in it.
Right.
There may be those times.
And if there were homes, I mean, if there were more people who could just say, you know what, I could take one.
Yeah.
I could take one, or I could do the next year or 2 years, and I could take one kid. Man, that would ease the pressure so much on the system. And I feel like everybody says, oh, foster care is such a mess. You see it on TV. It's always a disaster. Foster parents are always evil, after money and whatever kind of stuff. I just feel like fostering is a really high leverage kind of position. If you want, so the system is always going to be kind of a mess. It just is, because you're dealing with messy people and messy situations. It's going to be a mess forever. If we want to make a significant difference in it, listen, the person who spends the most time with a foster kid is the foster parent.
Yep.
That is probably your highest leverage opportunity to make a difference
in somebody's life. Yeah. And change your community.
Absolutely.
Through that work.
I don't want to discount caseworkers and the judges and everybody who works really hard on those cases. I've seen their job. I don't want it.
Yeah.
All the paperwork and all the bureaucracy that they have to deal with, all those rules. God bless them for doing that. I don't want that job, but I will sit with a kid.
Yep.
I'll take a kid into my home who's just been removed, and they're scared and they don't know what's going to happen, and provide them with a little bit of stability, even if just for a short time. That's something I can do.
You can. Final question. Rewarding?
Yes.
Did you ever imagine that you'd be rewarded on the levels you are when you started?
We kind of divide our life into pre-foster care and post-foster care.
Okay.
And it's all kind of fuzzy, actually, pre-foster care.
Get a few years under your belt, it all gets fuzzy after a while.
It's all just what our life used to look like.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I definitely couldn't have imagined the way that it looks now.
Yeah.
But wouldn't change it.
Wouldn't change it.
No.
Perfect. It's May 6th. It's coming up at Norton Pines. What time's it get underway? 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. We'll put all the links here as well at Positively Muskegon, kidsbelong.com. If you need to send an mail, you can send info@kidsbelong.com. But all the links will be here, all the information. Jeff, thanks for taking a couple of minutes today. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a pretty high calling to be able to step in and take over and shape young lives like you are. So I think you're one of the good guys, man.
Thank you.
All the details right here, Positively Muskegon.